Yeah, I just opened this. I haven't looked at it at all, which is good because then I can just kind of do it like fresh. So I'll just play it through a few times, just kind of get a sense of what's happening, like what kind of controls you're using.
So I found the all key and used it in the beginning of it and then stopped using it.
Oh, okay. That's okay. No, I'm just curious to see what controls you're using. Yeah, because I saw some shoulder movement.
Yeah.
And that, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay, yeah. All right, so we can do the face for sure, and we can do the overall body.
Mm-hmm.
What I guess what I usually do first, I don't know if it's right or wrong, but I leave the face until the very end.
Yeah.
So I'll check out my framing, and then I'll track my body. Right, so let's like look at the body movement first, and then we can look at the face later, which is more like just shapes anyway. It's like that's almost like a design thing. After a while, it's like a matter of preference because every studio is going to be different. Like Pixar does it different than DreamWorks does it, for example, right? So
yeah,
it just depends on who's directing, all that kind of stuff. But the body movement, that should be all the same.
Cool.
I shouldn't say all the same, but like that type of like feature movement is going to be similar, kind of no matter where you go.
Yeah.
So like I'll just take your head control, for example, and kind of I get a sense of what's happening by the groupings of the keys, so I can see like this is your major movement. This in here is like your moving hold kind of thing. Same thing here, and then another major movement and another major movement at the end, right? So let's just break it down by like 40-ish frames, something like that. And then I'll just go into the graph editor because you don't want to overwhelm yourself when you're polishing, because that's what I would consider this to be now, is like we're going to look at like polishing it. Mm-hmm. So you could say this is like your 85% blocking pass, I guess, would be like a good way to look at it.
Okay.
So yeah, so it's like you've started it, and the director, whoever has seen your intention, they get the idea of what you're trying to present, and now you have to finish it. So let's pretend that that's like what we're doing, right? So so this here is okay.
Mm-hmm.
That looks okay. This looks a little flat, like there's really not anything going on here. Mm-hmm. And then I suspect the same thing's happening here, right? And yeah, so I would say yeah. So here's a little trick. Like right away, I'll get out of the graph editor for a second, and I'll just pretend that I'm going to animate this from scratch. When I put my manipulator on, I never use one of these and then that and then this. I don't like doing it that way because then sometimes I might forget to use one of the axes, and that's exactly what I see in your two curves. Like rot X is okay. Because these all have values, and there's no point where this just stops moving. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. But here, you do have that. You have like a big chunk where nothing's happening. There's no values at all. Mm-hmm. And then same in here. You got a bit off the top, and then you've got like nothing going on from here to here. And that's a sizable portion where nothing's happening. Yeah. So that's the difference between feature and TV. In TV, it's okay to have nothing happening. You call it's like pose to pose, right? So that's okay. That's like super acceptable, almost like a preferred method in TV because it's time saving. But in feature, if I take this small section here of like 30 frames, then right here, I'm going to set a key on everything. Right, like you said, you were key all for most of it, and then you forgot or whatever, right? But it's a great habit to get into, to just key all, because this, I'll move this out of the way, these are your major poses. This to this are your major poses. So if you're thinking in a traditional sense, this is drawing 1 and that's drawing 27. And then all the rest are your in-betweens. You have your breakdowns, which could be like frame 13 is your breakdown, and frame 5 is your in-between. Yeah. Yeah. And then it'll go here as well, like to 39. This is where this ends. This whole movement takes almost 2 seconds. which is good. That's a good speed for this. But what you're missing is the extra values here. So there's a way you don't have to put them in the graph editor if when you lay them in perspective, you just move the whole character from in here somewhere. Then no matter where you move the character, you're gonna automatically get 3 values. Does that make sense? Like if I move him over here and key it, then right away, I got 3 completely different values, right?
Yeah.
So then I can set all my keys that way. And then I can refine those poses later. So if I'm not like super happy with this, but I know I have 3 values, I set a key and then just kind of nudge it where I want it to go.
Okay.
But then I'll know, okay, it's got 3 values. So you didn't do that here, but that's okay. We can just add those 3 values based off of what happened here. So let me take all these and we'll go in and I'll go here at the end. Let me grab this. And I'm just going to give it a value. Let's just see. I'm just going to play around for a minute until I kind of get the lay of the land. See how I'm just kind of messing with the values here?
Yeah.
I know I don't want to go above this, right? Because then that would take me into this territory, into the later piece of the animation. So I'm not trying to like alter it in a drastic way. I'm just trying to kind of keep with what's already there. So I'm actually going to lower it down here. And just in a really subtle way, that's just turning this animation. It's not going to give me anything huge, but it's going to give me something to play with. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to move these until the curves look a little bit more appealing. And then again, we'll play with this in just a second. So I'm going to go here and do the same thing. Let me just figure out where this should go. And that's all up there, that's down there. Okay, I'm gonna keep that going up. Or sorry, not up, to the screen right.
I got you.
Yeah. And then I'm gonna do, I know I've talked about this before, the axis apex offsetting.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, and it's a pretty like handy thing to have. So I'm just gonna put another key right here, just so everything stops and starts. So I'm gonna take all this and I'm gonna offset it so that it's like a little bit more appealing, I guess. Let me change the record. There we go. Oh, that didn't make him faster at all. Oh, wait a second. Is he smoothed?
Yeah, I think he's on 2.
Let's put him down to like 0. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Is that keyable? No, it's not. Okay, perfect. Okay. Yeah, I was wondering why he's running a little slow. I'm like, he's usually pretty fast on my.
I think his eye was like bugging through his skin, and I thought that maybe I grabbed a controller, but I couldn't find it.
Oh, maybe, yeah. Here, 1 sec. Of course, I got a fatal error. Fatal error. Oh, God.
Perfect.
Yeah, I know it. All right, 1 sec.
Now you're on the full screen.
I know.
Okay. Now I can.
Then you get to see my cool Bayside Tiger shirt.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, because I'm cool. I mean, he still works, but he's just, I want him to be as fast as possible, which would also, yeah.
Because that was the file right before I sent it to you, so I smoothed it before I blasted it to you.
Oh, okay. Will he work easier? Hopefully. Yeah, there we go. Okay, that's faster for sure. Okay. Yeah, it's just better, and it's a feature thing too, like to be able to go a little bit faster with your computer. It's not all studios are going to have that, but like, I don't know. Some have super good computers, so you're going to have the luxury of that to a degree. Okay, so why not use it? Okay, I'm just going to like section this part off and then key everything after a fatal error. Okay, and then what's the, damn it, now I gotta bring up the graph editor again. One sec. Windows, graph editor. Doop. Okay. Can you see the graph editor?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Okay, sweet. Okay, all right. So I'm just going to do all this again. So the basic idea was I don't want to see anything that's ever like flat in feature. Like if a curve ever does this,
Yeah.
like that, then that means there's no movement. It's like mathematically still, which isn't gonna. Yeah, it's just not gonna fly in feature level stuff. Like it's always got to have some value there. It's got to have some description of movement, right? So, all right. So I'm just gonna do what I was doing before, just to have it back. But, yeah, I'll just sync all this down a little bit. And again, I just don't want to see anything that's like flat. And I may change all these values. I probably will. But I'm just putting something in. Whoops. Like again, it's like sculpting, right? I'm just cutting out a piece of the clay to see what it looks like. And if it doesn't work, then that I'm totally okay with that, because we can just change it. Like that's kind of the beauty of this kind of method, is you just kind of doing it, and if it doesn't work, that's fine. That's what Control Z is for. That's why that's there. So I'm just doing basic slow in and slow out here. There's no real like overshoot settle. So, but that's okay. That might be okay for this move. And I will just see. Let's go back in the camera. And I have a shortcut key to turn on and off the controls.
Curves? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not magic.
Maybe
Maybe a little.
Maybe not inside Maya.
Yeah. Okay, so I don't mind the head movement there. I'm going to refine it in a second, but I'm going to go down the chain here, and I'm noticing that something's hitting a wall. It's kind of just going back and stopping. So it looks like it's the neck or the torso. Probably the torso. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So in the first few frames of a piece, it's always good to just have a little bit of drift. And so that's what this key is going to represent right there.
Okay.
And then I'm going to, I have buttons too. I think I'll just use them, I guess. I just made buttons for him for just, whatever, just pieces that I make and stuff. So
yeah,
it's just handy to have. I just want to make sure everything has keys like starting and stopping on the same frames. Some people think that follow through and overlap, it has to be done with like keys separated and stuff. But I always like to keep my major poses all keyed out on the same frames. And then when I do the follow through and overlap, or snap and drag or whatever, then those keys can go somewhere else. But right now we're just kind of trying to lay extra stuff in. So I just want to keep it tidy, keep it neat and tidy. I'm a clean animator. I like it clean for a bit, and then I totally ignore that rule and do it totally different. Depends on what I'm doing. I just never want this to stop. It just always has to have some value, So I'm gonna go in here and just kind of look at it from different perspectives. Like it's akin to just picking up your sculpture and walking around it. The graph editor really is such an important part of this style of animation, because the program's going to try and fight you. It's gonna want to do its own thing.
Yeah.
And we say no, no, yeah. So here basically what was happening is that you were having this movement that just stopped. It just hit a wall and stopped, right? So that's really unnatural. So a big part of feature animation, it not only is it acting, but if we're just talking about pure body mechanics, it's about trying to make something natural. So it's like cushioning every move and making every move feel realistically timed. Like you couldn't just do a backflip unless that was a part of your character or whatever. Like even a human doing a backflip, it takes a certain amount of energy. So you have to like realistically build that energy up and realistically expend that energy. So that's what we're doing here, right? So now it just looks a little bit more natural. He's coming back like gradually instead of hitting a wall, which you can't even actually do in real life unless you're like
Hitting a wall.
Yeah, super good dancer. No, I mean like you can't even like stop yourself. So I'm gonna go in here and it's the same thing. This rot Y, whatever, rotation X rather, had values, but Y and Z don't. And we can't have that, man. We can't have that.
Mm-hmm.
No, you gotta, and that's because like no part of the body can just pivot from a single axis. Like it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
That's just not how the body moves. So I'm just gonna pick arbitrarily up or down and then switch perspectives and totally justify this once with some spectacular bullshit. One sec. You're gonna love it.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm gonna favor screen right just because we have more lead room, and that's the story I'm sticking to. So I'm sure much better artists than me can say which side you should go to in this case, but I don't know. I don't think it matters. It's just a matter of taste, really. I mean, if we had built this shot up from like reference and stuff like that, then okay, sure.
Yeah.
There might be a super good reason, but I don't have one, man. So, all right, I'm gonna do a bit of an anticipation here. Notice how like I'm not really animating in perspective. I just kind of gotten to a point where, and it's not all the time, but I just know that this right here, by doing this, is a small anticipation, right?
Yeah.
That's, you just kind of, oh, okay, fine. I thought we were getting a fatal error. I should save this though, one sec. I should totally save this. Okay, boom. Saved. All right. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm just going to give it some value. I'm going to validate it. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do the opposite, actually. Yeah, what do you think of that?
Radical.
Yeah, I know. Oops. And I'm going to give this a little bit of, anticipation. Okay. So then if we look at that, if we take all three values on the shoulders, we've got something there for all of them. And then the same thing if we look at the neck, we've got values here as well on all of these. So frame it up so you can see it better. Yeah. So then if I play that back, it should look a little bit more organic, right? And then it's basically just because, it's always moving. So we can really start to increase that a little bit and make it even more natural. And I think what I'm going to do is give it a little bit more weight. And I'm going to decrease the amount of rotation it has in X. I'm going to crush these values. So I'm going to scale them right from this key. Because I don't think that it looks as natural to have him tilt his head as far back. That's not really something we do. When we go back, we actually tend to dip our heads. Unless you're looking up, right? So even for like a happy expression change, it's more likely that your neck would go back, which would cause your head to kind of tilt forward just a little bit under its own weight. You're kind of trying to always maintain that center of mass. So I think we would actually expect his head to go about here. And then, okay, so now I'm going to start to key in some of that axis apex offsetting.
Okay.
And I'm going to do it, basically I'm just going to kind of mimic a little bit of weight. That's what it is, a mimic. I'm going to key in a bit of weight. And that's all really axis apex offsetting is. So I'm going to allow it to go up till about frame 5, right? That's a bit too much. Again, a little bit too much. Okay, I'm going to allow it to go up, and then it's going to start to go down around frame 9. Oops. And then I'm going to key all this stuff as if I'm settling out this movement. So I'm going to key all this up. Smooth this out. Auto tangent. And do this. That should be okay. Let's make this look a little prettier. Move it over here. And that. And then I think I'll take the neck and I will give this neck here some values. I'm going to actually just key this in by hand. I'm not going to do it through the graph editor. And I'm going to do the old robbing keys type of dealio. Delete some of this. I'm gonna allow it to move as if it's precipitating the entire move, like it's the thing that's leading the move, the neck.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna see what's moving here. Oh, I didn't realize that was moving for that long. Yeah, I'm gonna tone this down. This should stop here. I'm going to auto tangent these. One second. Bing. So this is all part of that sculpting. It's saying like, oh, okay, that didn't work. No big deal. We can go back into the graph editor and refine it. And this is why you have 4 seconds a week on feature, because it just takes so long to perfect the naturalistic movement. Like you can set your keys and all that kind of stuff and have nice blocking, but it takes a long time to kind of like really flesh it out and make it feel right. So I have to do the same thing for this. Well, maybe not this actually. Oops. But I'll absolutely do it here. The minutia of what I'm doing now, that's kind of the job, I guess. It's exciting. It's exciting. I like it because then when it works, it's like, oh yeah, sweet, And there are better animators than me who probably don't have to do this, but I find it's like the fastest way for me anyway to kind of get what I want. And then the beauty is if something's not working, I just delete it. It's like, oh, that's not working at all. Well, okay, bye, you're gone. So okay, so what's happening now is that this stuff is still too big, so it's working okay from the first, say, 13 frames, but I really, really just want to have like a subtle drift after that. So I think I'll crush this a bit more. I think that's okay. And this could be. Basically, I'm just toning down what I put in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah, they call it crushing or like crushing the values, or yeah, you're just reducing what you have kind of thing. Okay. Let's see what it looks like. Okay, so now what we need to do is add in a little bit of weight to the head. So I don't think any of this is quite big enough, just as far as the head's concerned. I think we might, yeah, I definitely don't need that. And now I'm just like kind of offsetting a little bit. And you can see like if I bring up the other, oops, if I bring up the other curves, then you can kind of see now some of them are offset a little bit. You can do it where you can just drag things forward and back. You can pick one as your anchor point and you take the other values around it and move them forward by 2 or back by 2. But in this case, you can just add that in manually. You don't need to worry about moving like a whole big chunk of keys by 2s because you might not actually want to do that. Yeah. You might not want to offset the whole thing. You know, you might just want to do one key here and there, and you'll know when it's working because you just kind of play it through, and it's like, oh, okay, that looks right. Okay, I think we're getting there. Oops. So I think around here I want to have a little bit more of a like a jaw swing. So we'll take this guy. And something I haven't talked about yet is like favoring keys. So if I say this is my first key and this is my second key, then I want my in-betweens to favor one or the other. So this is favoring a slow out and this is favoring a slow in. And of course, Maya's going to do its own thing when it comes to keys. So you got to make sure you're constantly kind of watching the graph editor. Give it a bit more. All right, so that's, all right, so now what's happening, I notice, is that the neck is moving too much. So because we crushed those other values, we're going to have to crush the values on the neck as well. That right there is as far back as that neck should move. So that's as far back as it's going to go. Now I have to figure out how to make this still look okay without just completely killing the movement. But and a good way to do it too is like you can just kind of scale these back a little bit. Yeah. You know, and then you're not worrying too much about how like precise you're being. And then I'll crush this stuff in here. And I'm going to bring these keys back. So I'm going to bring all this stuff back. Because that's going to like give me a nice like moving hold. Mm-hmm. And a nice gradual kind of easing out. Or like just a nice continual movement. And I know I'm just working with like the rotations right now. All right, so you can see like barely anything's happening from frame 19 to 39, but that's okay. And now there's too much, I assume it's, you know, on Y. But now this is too big. Like, see how far it gets away from center?
Yeah.
It's quite big, so we can just crush it, and that's probably good. All right. And this, and you're constantly changing it, like you're constantly sculpting, and it's never done until it's done, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But that's almost half the fun. I don't know. Maybe I'm a masochist, but it's you just get in there and you're like, oh, that doesn't work. Oh, that doesn't work. Oh, Control Z, Control Z. And in the case of that Ice Age shot, like it was versions and versions and versions of that. And I would save every half hour because I was like, I knew I would start animating something and a half hour later have a completely different idea. No, I wanted to move this way instead of that way. Or I'd work on it for a full day, come in the next morning and be like, nope, this is all crap. I got to redo it. And I would just go back, those 20 versions or whatever from the day before and make sure it felt right. And that's the beauty of that. It's like you have the time to go, this doesn't feel right. I'm going to make it perfect,
It's totally different.
It is. It's just a completely different way to do it, But it's good. I mean, that's.
Well, I mean, that's the kind of luxury I'll have at home. Well,
Yeah. You can just spend days and days and days on this stuff, which is good. Yeah, that's the artistry of it, right? It's like you're not doing it for commercial gain at that point. It's just for the love of the piece.
Mm-hmm.
I know I said it was going back too far earlier, but now it might not be going back far enough. Funny how that works.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll let that go back actually. And then when you move one thing, you're like, oh, it doesn't work anymore. And as weird as it is, you're almost. This isn't true, and I'll get scolded for it for even saying it, but it feels true, so I do it. But I'm doing it anyway. Whatever.
Yeah.
You're almost trying to make the graph look aesthetically pleasing in its curves. Like if I have like this and that, and it's just all weird looking, then the motion's not as smooth. And that's not a consistent thing. You could look at mocap data and it would probably be all over the place. But I just do it. It just helps. Like, can you see now? Almost this movement is much smoother.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and so the neat thing is now that we've kind of smoothed this out and made it a little bit more organic, now this is primed and prepped for exaggeration, which is another huge principle, right? So we don't have to do it now, but if you wanted, you could have them really go for it. And that cartoony movement would still feel natural because now we smoothed it all out. So if you want to mess around with some of that stuff, give them like a really big anticipation. I know it's like, okay, well, this right here is my anticipation key. Is that what I want to do? Do I want to do this around here? I'm just taking the chunks of the curves and starting to mess with them a little bit.
Yeah.
And so it's like, obviously it's going to look weird because we're not then continuing to go in and refine that stuff.
Yeah.
but it's easier to do it. It's easier to take that motion and kind of refine it a little bit more. So another thing I might do is just because I'm just going to take all of this and just make it a little bit more, I don't know, I just want to mess around with the overall. Yeah, to me that just feels a little bit better. I just want to kill all this for a second. This actually, okay. I just want to kill all this for a second. Yeah, I think that, yeah. It's just sometimes when you see the face with it, then the two actions oppose each other.
Yeah.
And you might see movement that's not necessarily there. So, yeah, it's the jaw that's kind of distracting me. I'm going to jump around a little bit just because this is kind of how you would do it anyway. So let's assume you've got your storyboards and you had your hand off, you saw the director, whatever, he's seen this or he or she have seen this, and they say, all right, what I want you to do is make it less post to post, or I want this expression change or whatever. So you have your shot. It's not going to drastically change. You're just polishing it, right? And then as we continue to talk about the polishing, then it's like, okay, now you're starting to see these little methods that come out. So I want to move on with the rest of the body, but I'm seeing something that this jaw opening, I gotta find out where you opened it from. This jaw opening is doing the same thing that the head, the neck, and the chest were doing. It's hitting another wall. So this is an acting thing too. Like we could talk about the acting of this piece, which we'll absolutely do in a little bit. But yeah, this is the same kind of thing with the jaw. Is it's hitting this wall, good chunk, right? So I don't like it. So I'm gonna fix it. It's freaking me out, man. And like in the just to go back to this real quick, how these axes are offset, like the height of these curves are kind of offset from one another. Oh, come on, don't do that. Okay. No, don't do that. I just want like a good view of all the curves. All right. Why are you doing this to me, Graph Editor?
Not having it.
We were bros. What happened? I trusted you. There we go. Okay. There we go. Okay, so now you can see like the axes are offset from one another. They don't. Yeah. The heights and the peaks and valleys are almost at different spots. You can see it most noticeably here.
Yeah.
And then again here. Like you can, for the hell of it, why not? Like you can do this kind of thing. You don't have to, but you can, because we also just animated it that way.
Yeah.
But why not do it, and then we'll see what happens. See how now I just want to make the curve pretty, man. I want to make it sing for me. And then the reason I bring this up is because I'm not going to do that to the jaw. The jaw doesn't necessarily move that way. The mandible isn't as flexible, at least in this piece, we'll say, as the neck and the head are. Yeah. So I'm not going to worry about offsetting those curves like I would with the head and the neck. Man, I am fascinating. Sometimes I'm like, is this even interesting? I'm not even sure. Maybe I've just convinced myself that it's like it's the cool.
Interesting.
Yeah, this is like the coolest job ever, and it's like it's not, but it's too late. I've already done it for too long.
I'm already on the webcam. What am I gonna do?
But yeah, I just have to keep going, right?
I'll just like take a screen cap and then put it in the camera.
It's like, oh shit, I'm lying to myself.
Yeah.
Oh well, it happens
Every day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'm just I just moved that up about 5 frames. I'm gonna do the same with this as well.
Yes.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put this guy back. Okay. See, you just see how that's different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's and well, there's other stuff to like correct, I guess, whatever in there, but that it just feels different. It's the way, it's what you lead with, it's what you end with. Like I think I know I used to get really confused about what the extent of follow through and overlap. Like where did that begin and end? I knew follow through and overlap was about making sure nothing starts and stops at the same time. That's like the essence of that organic type of motion, is that the way the human body works, the way anatomy works, is that, you know, your brain has to send out signals and the muscles fire, and they don't all fire at the same time. They fire in sequence, right? So that's what you're trying to animate into your characters. In the absence of actual muscles, we have controllers that can be used to simulate that. So that's what I want to do with the jaw, right? It's like, to make that movement more appealing, it's either got to lead or follow. So I think in this case, I wanted the head and the neck in particular to lead the action, and the head to follow, to have to follow through the snap and drag. And then the jaw was opening too quickly and stopping right in the middle of my main action, right? So it would be like, someone's getting up to stage to sing a song, and the person says, "Oh, next on stage, you know, Beyonce, whatever," and just right in the middle of the first 2 words she starts to sing, someone comes out and talks. You know, that those 2 opposing things are what was happening here. So I just kind of just smoothed that out a little bit. And again, it's this thing where, okay, we fix these curves. If you don't like the timing of it, just bring it back by, you know, two frames and just see. Is that better? Yeah, that's a little better. Bringing ahead 2 frames again and bringing ahead another 2 frames and just see. Is it better? It feels a little late, you know? So bring it back 2 again, and 1 more for the hell of it. And let's see how that looks, right? Yeah, that's a little better, you know? So it's that kind of thing. You're first looking for curves. You're trying to recognize what the graph editor curve should look like to simulate some sort of organic motion. Like here, see, there's like, it's just frozen.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't want that. I don't want it to be frozen. I want it, because when it's, like I said it before, when it's still on paper and you've drawn it, I don't know, there's something about a hand drawing that has a quality of life to it anyway.
Yeah.
So when you see that drawing over and over again, I don't know, something about it that just seems more alive. But when you look at a CG character, that's mathematically frozen. If it's not moving, it's dead. It's so lifeless, just like me. So you don't want to be that way. Yeah. So anyway, so that I think that takes care of that little section there, right? Mm-hmm. You know, there's a little bit of sort of recoil on the movement. There's a softness to it that exists there now that maybe didn't necessarily exist before. You know, and you know, you can mess with all this stuff. It's like, really, there were really only a handful of controllers we use. So, you know, here are our curves in this section. Oh, look at, I don't know what that is, but it's not moving. So let's fix it. And that's the kind of stuff you're going to do. Is you're going to get in there, you're going to look at all your curves, and you're going to be like, oh, that doesn't move. I don't know what that is, but it doesn't move. Can't have it. Yeah. You can't have that happening, right? So, basically that. You're just going through it. It's tedious, but it's essential.
Yeah.
You know, that's how you get that organic movement. So as far as body movement's concerned and body mechanics, it's a whole other discussion, but this already looks just more fluid. I could spend another hour just imbuing this with character and personality and just changing different parts of it to suit any project and changing the timing. It's like, oh, hey, now we're on Hotel Transylvania. It's like, okay, well, it has to be snappy and zippy. It's like, oh, hey, now we're on, How to Train Your Dragon 2. Okay, now it's got to be really organic. Yes. Or oh, hey, somehow I made it onto Inside Out and all my dreams have come true. Now I'm gonna meld the two and off you go, kind of thing. So anyways, so that's that. We can keep doing it because like this piece is 120 frames or whatever. There's more of that to do, kind of thing. And we could take like a major piece like this. I should have made a select all button, but I totally didn't. We can take a major piece like this and say it starts at frame. All right, let's say it starts at frame 73, and we will DTVify this or featureify, however you want to, whatever. DTV, let's do it. This is DTV'd. All right, I'm gonna grab a drink of water real quick, 1 sec, and then we will DTV this. It's hard work. Good thing this isn't a live cast. That would make yeah, it is for you. Dead air. Sorry, snip snap. We're cutting that out.
Yeah,
that's why I record these things. Okay. Yeah. Oh, I've been recording since we started. Yeah, of course. Yeah, these are great because then I can take them and chop them up and I'll put them in whatever order I want, and then it has the outward appearance of coherency. But you and I both know it's just hours of rambling.
Yeah,
basically. That's the secret. But YouTube doesn't know that. Oh, they think I know what I'm talking about. Oh, they're sorely mistaken.
Yeah.
Little do they know. Okay, so what makes this like super TV is mainly this guy here, which is exactly what I would do on Gadget or any TV show. This is exactly what I would do. But I wouldn't necessarily do it in a feature. If only because it's just a little too big. And if I select all these values, I really only see a value on translate Y.
Yeah.
So the more complex the controller, or rather the more the controller would do if it were a genuine piece of anatomy, the more values it has to have, right? So the jaw, well, it depends on what show you're on. If you're on Cloudy or Hotel, jaw's going to do a lot more. If you're on How to Train Your Dragon, jaw's going to be a little bit more rigid. It's going to follow more anatomical rules. Yeah. But in all cases, the hips are the root. Like that's when you rotoscope something or when you start your piece, you start with the hips, right? So it's going to have the full 6 channels of information on it, all 3 translations, all 3 rotations. That's my general rule, right? So right now you only have 1 channel of information. So let's get rid of this. Let's go in here. And we'll see what it's kind of doing, right? Or what would the hips be doing if you were doing that? So here he's switching to the anger, right? So I wouldn't go up when I'm angry. I would start to go forward. So where you have your anticipation, you can just put the anticipation in the head and the neck, and I wouldn't, maybe I might not use it for the body itself.
Mhm.
And I wouldn't have the bounce either. That's not something you'd necessarily see in a feature, unless there's all these rules where, of course, you would use it, but
Where you wouldn't, but you would.
yeah, exactly, right. But for this piece, where we kind of try to make it a little bit more organic, then let's say no, you would, right? So I just broke my own rule, man. Oh shoot! All right, I'm gonna rotate from just a random part, so I get all three of the values there, and then I'm going to do the same kind of thing with the translation. I just did it, so I'm gonna start using the single controls, because in a close-up you don't want to, you're not trying to blow past the camera or anything. And that's my slow out. And that's my in move. I'm gonna slow that down a little bit. And let's go back in the camera, see what that looks like. Take a look-see-doodle. So now you see, and I'll refine it in a second, but now you see the head and the neck are doing the anticipation, but the body is just coming forward, and what that does is builds tension, right? So on a piece like this, where he's changing from happiness to anger. Jesus. Now I don't know. Now I don't know emotions. This is bad.
And of all the ones to not know,
you'd think I would be an expert in the latter. Yeah. So it just snip. Yeah. So it's building. You're trying to build tension. So in this case, I think the body can just start to come forward before it has that bigger buildup of tension, that hold of tension towards the end of the piece, right? And then it's your head and your neck that can do the anticipation, right? Yeah. Because I think sometimes people get confused. Anticipation and antic are two different things. Antic is in like a Chuck Jones, Tex Avery. It's a take. It's like a trope. The eyes bugging out or something like that. Like the big wind up before you leave a scene. That is anticipation. It lets the audience kind of catch up and mind read the scene. You can kind of fortune tell what's going to happen. Oh, they did this. Oh, they're about to exit. Wile E. Coyote holds up a sign. He antics falling off the cliff or whatever. Yeah. But anticipation is a lot more subtle, right? Mm. So here, I don't think I don't think anyway anticipation applies to the whole body. I think it can be as subtle as an eyebrow raise. It can be as subtle as an eye dart. So the more organic your piece is, sometimes they're called micro expressions.
Yep, heard that.
Yeah, or some people just call it you're just noodling. But it's these just small, subtle changes in a character when they're in close-up that give you that anticipation. There's because it's human to human. You're looking at a character's eyes. You're naturally reading how they feel and all that kind of stuff. So it just a slight change of expression or micro expression or a slight twitch can be all the anticipation you need. So I think, I hope I didn't lose the screen share there, did I? Okay. Anyway, I think you can just have the head and the neck do that here, and then we can make the face more subtle later. So this way, at least it's like what you get is a little bit of offsetting in the neck. As the body goes up, there's a tiny bit of drag, and you can kind of increase that a little bit. Into here. And I would even take the neck and do that and get rid of this. And I would, I would just keep that going. there's not as much like recoil in this style. You know, like when it's cartoony or you kind of bounce back and forth, it's that overshoot and settle style. Yes. You kind of shave that off a little bit when you do this kind of really organic, almost rotoscope feeling type of animation. It's then not the head and neck that bounce around a lot. It's the hips. It's the, you see what I'm doing now? Like I'm so mad about something, right? But my head and my neck stay rooted because I'm aggressive. I'm really looking at something. You know, I'm predatory at that point. You know, it's like when you move the chicken around. You know, and the chicken's head stays the same. You know, it's that kind of thing. Yeah. And then if I'm looking around and I'm frantic, that's a whole other thing. Or if I'm really happy, right? Oh, hey, I'm super happy about something. It's the same kind of thing, though. Our heads aren't very floppy. Our necks are very, you know, our heads are rooted to our neck. The neck is the driver of the head to a degree, and the shoulders can be the driver of the neck. So it's good to keep a little bit of rigidity in a character, especially in a piece like this.
Yeah.
You know? And then what you can do here is just like I have from, say, 91 to 120. Then I could take everything. This. Set a key here, and then pick one of these keys back here. Just say 83 for the fun of it. Go back here, and then I can add a little bit of recoil, but it's not really recoil. It's just a slight decrease in tension. But you have a choice. You can decrease the tension, or you can just keep it going. So in this case, just for the fun of it, why don't we decrease it? But then what we'll do is we'll decrease it in a way in the graph editor where it never goes back to the same place. So I can take this. Oh, okay, it actually does kind of work out. So if I put this here, it would be going back to that, but I don't want that. So that's okay. I'm okay with these values. We may have picked all right here. We may have picked just the right spot. And this will just give like a more natural, like kind of recoil feel to it, or like a decrease in tension, a little bit of relaxing. And then, so what we didn't do, I'm going to do now, is we'll go check the curves. What do they look like? What do they look like? Let's take a look. And I already know, just looking at here, in around this section, just scrubbing that through, it feels a little too stiff. Maybe that's anatomical, but it's not as appealing. Like especially in through 78 to 83. I want a little bit of something in there. So I'm going to set a key. I'm going to raise this up. It's just a slight adjustment, but it's going to make it feel a little bit more fleshy. And that's what I want. Just a little bit of something. I don't think I need it here. And I'm going to start to favor some stuff now. And I'm going to favor this. And I may be wrong, or maybe creating the wrong feeling here, but I'll know in a second. Yeah, okay. I think I can do that. I'm going to push these ahead 2 frames. This 1 frame. And I'll do that. Make sure this is not. Oops. Yeah, I just want to make sure that those aren't frozen values where nothing's happening. Same thing in here. That's good. Same thing in here. That looks okay-ish. We'll play it, see what it looks like. Yeah, that already feels a little bit better. And then Yeah, and then what you would do is the same thing we did. Oops, I have a shortcut. I don't know why I do it up. What you can do is take all the face and the mouth. Ooh, is this gonna work? We'll take this and this and this and this. I'm gonna delete all this. Oh, that didn't do what I wanted to do. Will this work? No. Anyway, I just want to clean this up a little bit and retime it. Let's see if it's even. Okay, all right. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna delete all this. Okay. So what I want to do, you would definitely lead with the eyebrows in a move like this because you're angry. So you're scrunching your face up, but it feels as if it's all happening a little bit late. So I'm gonna move that back by 2 frames. But oddly enough, I'm gonna make that bigger by 1. And I think that's happening too early. I know I said you definitely want to lead with the eyebrows, but you want to have a scrunch, a something at the end of that move, like a, you know, you want to make it rhythmic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then that's still not fast enough. So that's okay. Let's fucking make it faster. Yeah, I don't want that to happen way sooner. Yeah, that's much better. You know, rhythmic, roadhouse. So you can ignore I said that.
No,
But it happened. It happened. So okay, so that's basically it. Like I could spend a day, or at least a few more hours, really getting in and refining this and deciding the style and, you know, all that kind of stuff, and making sure every single controller doesn't stop, making sure every control has movement, making sure that, for example, if I did this with the hips at the end of the piece, that I was going to add on a movement on every single little bit and then go up the chain and make sure that the shoulders had the same movement that the hips have. See, like, you know, the shoulders really aren't doing a ton there.
Yeah.
So we could add some rotations and some, you know, nice offsetting and follow through and overlap and all that kind of beautiful stuff, which is exactly what you want, you know. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I am going to select this camera. Did you lock this camera? No, you totally did. Okay.
It's keyed, but it's not locked.
Yeah, I'm just going to, okay. Oh, it is keyed, eh? Okay.
It should be.
Let's see. Oh, that's okay. Okay. Yeah. So yeah. So I think that's working. It's feeling a little bit more organic. I like to keep the shoulders in too with Ray because it is keyed. Darn it. All right. Well, here's what we'll do. We'll just go back in perspective. We'll just set a brand new. There we go. Okay. You see, he's got like kind of just like this subtle drift back, you know. And like I said, you can do one or the other. you can increase or decrease the tension. In this case, I just wanted to show you about making sure when it goes back, it doesn't go back to where it was. Like if it's here, it comes here. You don't want to go back. Right?
No, I like the decrease better. In this case.
Yeah, it's like a little bit of a little slight doubt, I guess. But anyway, there's a ton you can do. If you had reference, you'd see all these different things these different subtleties that you'd want to animate in, and how you could kind of mess up the graph editor, make it feel a little bit more mocap-y. You could really, really increase the weight and tension, but it just takes time. Actually, here, let's just play the whole piece now. Yeah, I'm curious. Play the whole darn thing. So what you want to do with pieces like this is you want the character to feel like there's an internal thought that's changing the emotions, not just that the emotions change.
Okay.
There's got to be a precipitation for that emotional shift. So like here, he could be like, oh yeah, what's good? There's got to be something in between. There's got to be like in around, I guess, frame, even say 60 to 75, something that's like, hey, wait, something that's kind of caught this character's eye a little bit. So here, there's ways we can get into like kind of changing the anatomy a little bit to make him just like that much more appealing. One second, let me change the focal length here. All right. 290. Let's get super close. Okay. All right. So with this guy, he's a little tough because he has these little areas in here, where they're not weighted properly. Thanks for the free rig, guys. Malcolm's great, and I love using them.
Yeah.
But this version of him, he's not perfectly weighted, so he has little weird strippy bits like this. So you just kind of tend to ignore those a little bit. But let's start with the eyebrows. So there's 3 different muscle groups in these eyebrows. Whoops. There are, in no particular order, because I can't remember the order, are the procerus muscles. I know those ones are in the middle. Mm-hmm. And the corrugators and the frontalis. I always mix up the corrugators and the frontalis, but they're the bands that move the middle parts of your brow, right? So, but looking at this, your procerus muscles are disconnected. So they need to be connected. And what that basically means is your muscles tend to move in tandem. So you want to kind of draw an invisible line from here to here. You can create whatever shape you want, but they kind of have to still be connected a little bit.
Okay.
So here, like this one has gone down farther than this one. So all I would want to do is just do that. And now they look a little bit more connected. Like if we look at what you have here, and then all I need to do is move that down a little bit, move that down a little bit, and then rotate. And move this. And now all of a sudden they're connected. Can you see the difference?
Yeah.
Like where, this part and this part, just they should kind of line up a little bit, And then you want to have one nice swooping shape. And it was put to me by the great Mike Safanoff. He's incredible at this kind of stuff. You want to have 3 graphic shapes, right? So one line, another line, and a third line. Here, I'll overpronounce it so you see it, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So this is extreme, but like one shape here, one shape there, and one shape there. So 3 graphic lines. That's kind of how the anatomy of the brows work.